What's going on, everybody? I got the guys with me tonight. We're hitting a position group for the 2021 Kansas City Chiefs. We're going over wide receivers. Let's go. All right, everyone, we are here. I got Matt Bird and Justin Herrera. I'm Billy Truelove tonight. We're going to start breaking down position groups going into the 2021 season. Tonight, we wanted to start off slow. I think this is a position group that had a lot of eyes on it this offseason, but I don't think there's too many mysteries here. We're going over the wide receivers. Um, Guys, as we discussed right now, currently on the roster, there's about 15 guys. Obviously, that's not going to be what we take into the season. I'm thinking without the obvious names, Tyreek Hill will be the number one receiver going into camp. We've got word it will be McCole Hardman at number two. We'll have Demarcus Robinson. We'll have Byron Pringle. Um, we'll have the rookie in. I won't include Noah Fant in any of this, but I do think he's going to get some time on the field this season. Justin, we'll start with you. Of any of those names that we think are those locks, who do you think isn't? Is there one of those names that may not make it going into the regular season?
Oh, that's kind of. I don't know if I want to say like Demarcus Robinson would be that guy. I mean, he's been with us for like a while. I think you might have somebody shine through and somebody like on that bottom end, like either like Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle, that could maybe be on their way out. I think that would be like a camp like surprise because I think everybody really likes Byron Pringle. He seems like a hard nosed guy. He's from K State, but I'd be looking for somebody, more like Darius Shepard or the kid that's from Kansas City that we got from Green Bay, or I'm still kind of like a fan of Marcus Kemp. Uh, because
Yeah.
there was so much hype going into him like last season, and then like he was what was it, like he had a broken. Did he just break his leg? Was that what it was?
I think something did happen to Kemp, and special teams does save him every
Yeah.
season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does make the team because of all the work he does on special teams.
Yeah.
So are you? Who are your top? Who are your top four?
Top four. I mean, obviously Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman. I think those two have to be they have to be very good. I think McCole has to be very good for this team to really be moving. Then I think you're looking at probably. I'm gonna feel silly saying this, but I'm gonna go with Darius Shepard. I think he's gonna just surprise a lot of people. And playing for your hometown team, I don't think there's any greater motivator than that. I think that's going to give that dude the juice. And then Cornell Powell, I'd say, is like the kind of like rounding out like the top four.
Yeah, and I don't think Cornell Powell's in any danger.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have yet to see him yet. All right, so Matt, I'm going to pivot to you here with the Chiefs only investing a little over $5 million into what we are assuming is probably going to be that top 4 or 5 receivers, not including Tyreek Hill. If we're keeping McCole, Demarcus, Byron, and Cornell, those would just be the names I put. That's $5.2 million we're going into this season with these names. Do you have anyone you think's going to shine on this list that we're not expecting, and who do you think maybe doesn't make the team?
As far as doesn't make the team, I don't see anybody from that list just because we're too thin at the position as it is. As far as somebody shining, Antonio Callaway has the pedigree. He's on the roster. He's somebody that could step up and eventually be maybe that third or fourth guy.
Absolutely, yeah. That there is a shot. He is making $920,000 this year, so not a huge hit at all for us. But certainly, I think with Patrick Mahomes throwing the rock around, anyone's got a chance as long as they can get on the field. I pretty much agree with you guys, except on Byron Pringle. What I'm going to say right now is Byron Pringle does not make the team this year. And it's strictly that cap hit of $2.1 million for a guy that doesn't do a whole lot. 12 receptions last year. Now let's just say this: Sammy's gone. I get it. That's going to free up some balls. Sammy had 37 receptions last year. If you split those up just over the names uh, that we went through, assuming those guys will just split that up evenly, because um, most of the guys on that list, if not all of them, outperformed Byron Pringle, caught more balls than him last year. So I'm going to go ahead and assume, even if we just split those 37 balls up evenly, that's that leaves him at 25 receptions for the season. And I'm sorry, but he isn't. I mean, 28-year-old receiver is not about to just turn in to a legit number three. And 25 receptions for $2.1 million isn't cutting it. When we know there's some other things that we can do, go give me a receiver with some potential for less than $2.1 million. And Byron Pringle, who we're saying at his absolute best will have to double his production going into this season, with names like Cornell Powell now in the mix and McCole, probably going to take a step up in balls. I don't see why he's making more than everyone on the list except Tyreek Hill. He's the second highest paid receiver on the team, and he doesn't do anything. I'm out on Byron Pringle, and I hope somebody else can do more with their time than the 12 receptions Pringle had.
One thing that I want to bring up too, and like this isn't necessarily as it pertains to this position group, but it can impact those numbers, is I think we're going to see a lot more receiving out of, well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that's going to be something that'll impact like overall receptions, because I think we're going to see him much, much more in the receiving game this year. And then also you want to look at like, I know he's a rookie, but like Noah Gray is probably going to take some like might take a couple of like catches away as well, because he's more of a receiving tight end. That guy's not a blocking tight end. It's not Blake Bell. It's, you know what I mean? So those can be something that can impact these 3 and 4 guys that we're talking about at the wide receiver group.
Absolutely. And I'm with you. I do think you're right. As Noah Gray, I wouldn't even include him in one of those receivers splitting up Sammy's time. We're going to see some 2 tight end sets. We're going to see some different things, especially Clyde Edwards doing a lot more out of that backfield to the pass. And Jerick McKinnon from San Francisco. I do think not saying he's going to catch 40 balls or anything this season, but that is, up front is the 37 balls that Sammy caught last year is going to be what gets distributed out around this team, because you're not going to magically see Tyreek and Travis have their production cut in half because of anyone on this team. So Tyreek and Travis are going to get their 80 to 100 receptions, and everyone else is going to fend for themselves. There's not enough there for Byron Pringle, especially, like you said, with some of the younger guys getting to step up. Matt, what do you think about Byron there? I believe you have been a fan of his in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot more than I like Nicole, if I'm being honest. I think he's the guy that can go out there and make those plays, and Nicole's not always that guy.
Yeah, I disagree. I do think Nicole has got more wow to him. He does got to get there more mentally, I think, on the field. I don't think he plays very loose, but Byron Pringle, on his now final year of this contract, there is no sense for us to see if he can prove being worth $2.1 million, because the odds of that are astronomical. That he is now all of a sudden going to outperform McCole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson. That's what he would have to do to be worth that money. And it is not going to happen, and we're not going to restructure him. I would be blown away. Now, kind of like what Justin said, I'll go back to you said, the depth. A lot of these guys aren't going to make it, and, maybe he has the experience on the scene to where they do want to extend him. Justin, do you think Byron has a shot at all at being a Chief next season?
So one of the things like I had touched on just a second ago was that like I don't think he's gonna make it. I want him to. He's a K-State guy. He's local, and I'm a fan of like somebody from the area being on the team, and like that ties in different fan bases. KU and K State fans can be like, yeah, well, he's a Chief now, so you know what I mean.
I
But
get it. Yeah.
it's tough because I can only really think of one Byron Pringle play, and that's so I think it was against Detroit when he caught the ball, turned up, and then like got hit, and everyone was surprised that he held onto the ball.
He also had a nice touchdown from Patrick Mahomes on I believe it was a Thursday night game against the Colts. Patrick had a wraparound. We didn't have Tyreek or Travis or Sammy on the field that night. Byron was kind of the man, and Patrick sent him a laser from about 35 yards out in the end zone, which was
There
pretty
you go.
awesome. He had to drop to his knees to catch it, and that's it. And that was in 2019. That was the Super Bowl season that happened.
Yeah.
But I hear you. Matt, what do you think about what we saw? I think we saw a decent effort in the offseason from the Kansas City Chiefs to address the deporting of Sammy Watkins from this roster and striking out. We know we went after Juju Smith-Schuster. We know we went after Josh Reynolds. I'm not sure who, if there's other guys out there that we went after that we're not even aware of, but our name kind of came up in the Julio Jones thing. I think there's probably no shot we were actually in that. Maybe if Frank Clark was in this position 6 months ago, maybe we're in the Julio Jones talk. But does it seem the Chiefs obviously at some point weren't necessarily satisfied with this wide receiver position group?
They definitely don't seem like they're done. I think they're going to make another addition for sure.
Do you have any? I've kind of gone through names. I don't know at this point. Seeing the types of guys that maybe we're into, as far as a trade goes, or who's out there still available. Is there anyone you think you'd like to see come in to this locker room?
D.D. Westbrook for sure.
Yeah, that kind of does seem like a name that's gone around. I don't know if we know he's had some injury problems. We'll see. I think that would be nice. All right, Justin, let me switch back to you here. We've been seeing tandems and position groups ranked. As far as stacking up with the league, how do you think this particular group of the Kansas City Chiefs does compare?
If we're just comparing just wide receivers and only wide receivers, we're not including Travis Kelce, even though he is basically better than all wide receivers.
I would give you to include Travis Kelce. It is a little different, but I think when we're having this discussion about where you're going to rank them or the status of that group, I would include Travis.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then I think that's arguably the best in the NFL, and I wouldn't really look at taking anybody else because you have two different types of like receivers. You've got somebody who completely is a mismatch against any linebacker, any safety. They can't guard him. They try to put a corner on him. They can't guard Kelce. Then you have Tyreek Hill, who showed last year that he can still go over the middle or like over the top, and then he can beat you in any different way. It doesn't matter if it's like a little jet screen or like a little jet sweep. It doesn't matter what it is. They're deadly on all levels. It's not like, oh, well, they're just a deep threat or they're just, underneath. That's it. Like they can both pretty much do everything. So, and just total mismatches. But I think what this does tie into is the fact that I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Chiefs team is stacked, but I don't think our wide receiver or group is that good, like at all. Because you have Tyreek Hill, and then it's just a drop off. It's McCole Hardman, who's in a contractor who probably should have gotten it by now, and he hasn't. And then who's after that?
Demarcus Robinson.
If you put, and again, this is no like Demarcus Robinson seems like a great guy, but I mean, if you just put him on the New York Giants,
he will disappear.
Like what happens at that point? So
yeah, no, I mean we're go ahead.
Yeah, no, and then, like next is Byron Pringle. Put him on. I mean, heck, you could put him down there like in Jacksonville with a rookie quarterback. Like there's supposed to be a really good quarterback, like the second coming of like Andrew Luck. But even still, like, do I think he's turning any heads? No. And I think that's kind of where, what you were talking about, how the Chiefs were in on Juju Smith-Schuster. They could have been in on Julio Jones. They know we're not that good at that position. Like, yes, we have two elite, like we have an elite wide receiver and an elite tight end. After that, I think it's a complete drop-off. And that's not good. But I think Patrick's good enough to kind of mask that.
And I do agree with you there. I think as far as our starters go, we are one of the best in the league. I do have them ranked the number one receiving tandem in football. But you are right. The problem with this situation is Travis Kelsey's not getting any younger. Tyreek Hill isn't as it's not like he's a very young receiver. Um, we do have to. We got to start taking some chances here and finding out who those next guys are. Because, like you said, I'm not sold on McCole Hardman yet. I do think this is a great opportunity for him. 2021 has got to be his year. If not, he is out of here. He does not stand a chance. They're going to have to address it, because we're going to start talking money with Tyreek,
Yeah.
and something tells me it's not going to be an easy conversation
No.
with
And when
him.
at this point too, oh my bad, man.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like at this point right now, like the wide receiver core, like, and it's kind of like for the most part, like on the team, it's just top heavy. We have guys at the top that are really, really good, and then there's a complete drop off, and that's the only thing that like worries me. And I mean, if I had to have a concern about like the team, that would be it, because now it needs to be like, all right, Brett Veach, go out there and show us some of that draft magic. I don't want to see like who you can pick up in free agency. Show me that you can draft guys that are going to come in and have a significant impact on the roster.
Yeah, and like going back to what Matt has said, there is still an outside chance that somebody like Antonio Callaway and Cornell Powell actually um, are just a couple of those guys that spark on this offense very quick. Um, we know it is not hard to succeed in this offense. Patrick has been phenomenal at getting that ball distributed around, not like the days of, Alex Smith, Travis, and Tyreek. Some days, a lot of the time, you weren't going to see anyone else. Patrick Mahomes gets the ball spread around. You got to make those opportunities. Cornell Powell and Antonio Callaway certainly could make you feel better about this group as a whole, especially Cornell Powell, knowing we have no idea where the ceiling is on there. Antonio Callaway is a young cat as well, so there is still some unknown there with him, because powering up with Patrick Mahomes can do a lot for your game. All right, guys. So for me, going into the 2021 season for this position group, I do think after looking at the production this group has gotten uh, since last year, I think we'll probably have about 5 guys active at all times. I think those guys going into Week 1 at Arrowhead Stadium versus the Browns is going to be Tyreek Hill, obviously, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson. Then I'm going Antonio Callaway and Cornell Powell will make it strictly because he is a rookie. Then obviously Travis Kelsey, and well, maybe we'll see what Noah Fant. But the wide receiver position group for me, the one outside looking in when it's all said and done, which is sort of a fan favorite locally because of his K-State ties, will be Byron Pringle. I think he's out. It makes no sense in the world to have that much money getting spent on a guy that we've never seen produce well. If anything, redo that contract for just 1 year and get him getting paid what he needs to be getting paid. And that's in that Antonio Callaway money right now. I can't see that he gets that money this year. All right. Well, we're going to shut it down tonight. We will be going over other position groups leading up to the season, and we will see if next week for myself. I got Justin Herrera and Matt Bird's podcast 1558. We're out. Go Chiefs.